step into the shadowed world of medieval Europe, where rituals steeped in faith, mysticism, and tradition shaped the lives of kings, clergy, and commoners alike. From solemn religious ceremonies to secretive folk practices, these rituals were a blend of devotion, fear, and the supernatural, often performed under the watchful eyes of unseen forces. In the medieval world, death was ever present, and the Mass of the Dead was a sacred ritual to honor the departed and pray for their souls. Held in grand cathedrals or humble village churches, this ceremony was a poignant reminder of mortality, with chanted prayers and flickering candles casting eerie shadows. The air was thick with incense, and the congregation's whispered responses echoed in the stone halls, while outside, the natural world seemed to watch in silence, adding an unspoken weight to the solemnity. The Mass of the Dead was rooted in Christian theology, particularly the belief in purgatory, where souls awaited purification before entering heaven. Priests, clad in dark vestments, led the congregation in Latin chants, invoking divine mercy. The ritual was both a communal act of remembrance and a plea for the deceased to find eternal rest. Yet, the ever-present fear of judgment lingered, as did the sense that something unseen observed from the edges of the candlelight. This ceremony was often accompanied by elaborate visual art-stained glass, frescoes, or illuminated manuscripts depicting angels, demons, and the weighing of souls, rendered in the Romanesque or Gothic styles that defined the era's aesthetic. The mood was heavy, the atmosphere charged with both reverence and unease, as if the veil between worlds was thin. In the flickering torchlight of a medieval castle's great hall, the oath of the night was a solemn ritual that bound warriors to their lords, their faith, and their honor. This ceremony, often held before a battle or a crusade, was steeped in symbolism. Knights knelt before a sacred relic or a lord's sword, swearing loyalty in the presence of clergy and nobles. The air hummed with the weight of vows, the clink of armor, and the distant howl of wind through stone corridors, as if the castle itself bore witness. The ritual began with a blessing from a priest, who sprinkled holy water over the knight's sword and shield. The knight, clad in polished armor, recited an oath of fealty, promising to protect the weak, uphold justice, and serve God. Yet the gravity of the vow was tinged with an unspoken tension. Failure could mean disgrace or divine retribution. The hall's tapestries, woven with scenes of heroic battles and divine judgment, seemed to watch over the proceedings, their faded threads adding a timeless weight. The art of the period, often in the form of Romanesque wall paintings or Gothic tapestries, depicted knights in shining armor alongside celestial and earthly struggles, their bold colors and rigid forms reflecting the era's unyielding moral code. But beyond the candlelight, something else lingered, its presence felt but unseen, adding a quiet unease to the sacred moment. In medieval villages, the purification of the harvest was a vital ritual to ensure a bountiful yield and divine favor. Performed at the cusp of planting or reaping, this ceremony blended Christian prayers with ancient folk traditions, as villagers sought to appease both God and the spirits of the land. Under the watchful eyes of a local priest, the community gathered in fields or near sacred springs, their voices rising in chants as they blessed the soil with holy water and offerings. The ritual often involved a procession through the fields, led by a cross-bearer and followed by villagers carrying seeds or sheaves of wheat. The priest would invoke protection against blight, drought, or misfortune, while villagers placed small offerings, bread, flowers, or woven charms at the field's edges. The art of the time, often seen in Celtic knotwork or Romanesque carvings, depicted these rituals with stylized figures and lush, symbolic greenery, capturing the harmony between man and nature. Yet, there was an undercurrent of caution. The fields, though blessed, were vast and wild, and the villagers felt the weight of unseen watchers. Something lingered at the edge of the ritual, its presence as old as the earth itself, observing with a gaze that seemed to know more than it revealed. In the medieval world, justice was often sought through the trial by ordeal, a ritual believed to reveal divine judgment in disputes or crimes. Conducted under the watchful eyes of priests and villagers, these trials tested the accused through fire, water, or combat, with the outcome seen as God's verdict. The air was thick with tension as communities gathered in village squares or churchyards, their faith in divine intervention mingling with an unspoken unease about the forces at play. Common ordeals included walking over hot coals, plunging a hand into boiling water to retrieve a stone, or surviving a duel blessed by clergy. The accused stood alone, their fate hinging on their endurance or divine mercy. Priests chanted prayers, and the crowd watched in silence, their murmurs barely audible over the crackle of flames or the rush of water. The art of the period, often carved in stone or painted in Romanesque frescoes, depicted these trials with stark, symbolic imagery: angels and demons watching from above, their forms rigid yet expressive. Yet, beyond the circle of onlookers, something else seemed to linger, its gaze sharp and unwavering, as if the ritual had drawn an ancient presence to the edge of the mortal world. The Feast of the Saints was a vibrant medieval ritual, a day of celebration to honor holy figures who bridged the earthly and divine. Held in churches or village squares, these feasts combined solemn masses with communal feasts, music, and processions, carrying relics through lantern-lit streets. The air buzzed with joy, yet an undercurrent of reverence reminded all of the saints' power to intercede or judge. Villagers adorned altars with flowers and candles, while priests recounted tales of martyrs and miracles. The community shared bread, ale, and roasted meats, their laughter mingling with hymns. The art of the time, often seen in Gothic stained glass or Byzantine icons, depicted saints in radiant halos, their eyes piercing and serene, surrounded by symbolic animals or celestial motifs. But as the lanterns cast their warm glow, the edges of the celebration felt watched. Something ancient and knowing lingered just beyond the light, its presence subtle yet undeniable, as if drawn to the fervor of human devotion.